Money. It affects our everyday life. But how do we make more of it? Manage it. And make sure we make the most of our money. Welcome to Money Mindful, a podcast to teach and support you as you learn to manage your money.
Hello and welcome to the Money Mindful podcast. I am your host, Megan Jean Smith. I'm a money mindset and life coach for women. I help women just like you create the money and life that you want and that you deserve. So if you are a long-time listener and you were listening to last week's episode, you will know that this week is a little birthday surprise for you. It is my birthday this weekend and I just love doing stuff for other people when it's my birthday. So this is actually a replay of the talk that I gave at the Mind Over Money Summit earlier this year. So Lay Lopez from the Philippines hosted the most incredible summit with money mindset speakers from all over the world. Some of my teachers and people that I really look up to, like Lynn Twist, Ken Honda. There were over, I think, about 25 to 30 speakers from memory. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But it was an incredible summit, and I was part of it. And now the only way to access the talks from the summit are to pay to get access to it through the Mind Over Money Summit website. I'll put a link in that because if you're interested, it's incredible. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you want to change your money mindset, and that summit is gold. There is so much in, like, the speakers who were there are at the top of their game and they really have so much to offer. So I'll make sure that there's the link at this if you want to be able to listen to the other speakers. But because you're my listener and you listen to my podcast, I am going to share the talk that I gave that is part of the summit, and I'm going to share that with you. So this is my little treat for you. I hope that you enjoy it and get as much out of it as I enjoyed putting into it. So without further ado, here we go. I'm going to hand you over to Lay Lopez and the Mind Over Money Summit.
Hi, welcome to Mind Over Money, your masterclass series on removing prosperity blocks and managing the mindset and the energy to create wealth and abundance in your life. I'm your host, Lay Lopez, and I'm super excited to have Megan Jean Smith here with us today, who is a money mindset and life coach for women. She hosts the popular Money Mindful podcast. Megan specializes in helping women get out of not enough mentality so they can have more confidence, more time, and more money to live the extraordinary life they want on purpose. We are all capable of so much more than we think. Reaching those elusive dream goals is totally available to every woman now. Through private one-on-one coaching, Megan teaches the next exact tools women need to move from reacting to what life throws at them to being an active participant of their life and intentionally creating exactly what they want. Hi, Megan. Thank you very much for hopping on and joining us today for Mind Over Money.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and share all the things so your audience can benefit and get out of scarcity mindset.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'd love to hear about your story and how you got to where you are today. How did you get in the subject of money mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my journey started off in a roundabout kind of way, actually. I have always been interested in managing my money and investing my money. But to tell you the truth, it originated from a place of fear and scarcity. Okay, so I was interested in investing because I was worried. Like I didn't want to be in a situation where I didn't have enough money. And I grew up in a situation where I didn't see older people around me having good results with money when they got older. Like I have people in my family who struggle financially, and I just thought I don't want to be like that. And so it's funny because I work with people now to create abundance from a place of not coming from fear and scarcity, but that's actually where I started. And I was investing in property, and I used to chat with a girlfriend of mine on the phone. We would talk every week and we supported each other, and we just told each other, what insurance are you using, or are you using a broker? And one day it just occurred to me, wouldn't it be amazing if this was on a podcast and everybody could hear this information? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that's how the Money Mindful podcast originated, because at first I just wanted to share my knowledge about money. Not that I was the expert, but just to get it out in the open. Like, let's talk about this. Let's share this information, because women, Leah, are great storytellers. We're great at sharing information. And so I wanted to create a platform for that. And the funny thing is that after I created the podcast, now I find that there's lots of podcasts and information out there like this. But when I started, I couldn't find it. I didn't know that it was out there. And so I just decided to create it. And as I went on, I started to progress down this personal development journey. And I felt like creating money was more than just having money. It was more than that. It was about feeling like I was living the life that I really wanted to live, because that's why people want money, right? It's because they think that the money will create happiness in their life. They think that when they meet this goal, like when they have the house or they have the car, that they will feel better about themselves or happier. And I think that's the thing that really started to spike my interest, because after I started investing and I was doing things for myself to improve my financial well-being, the thing that really struck me, Leigh, was I still felt terrible. I still had days where I didn't feel good about myself and I didn't feel good enough. And I still had times when I felt fear around money. And it started to make me realize that, hang on, I don't think it's actually the money that creates the feeling of well-being and the feeling of happiness. And so I just happened to come across life coaching. I had never heard of life coaching. I didn't know what it was. I immediately resonated with it and went down that path, and then became a life coach. And over time, I've really learned how to generate feeling of security and well-being and abundance in my life separate from money. Like, money's still great. I love money. It's great to make money. And I think financial education and literacy is really important, especially with women, because we haven't been socialized for generations to create wealth for ourselves. But I just found that the more I learned about money and the more I went down this path, the more I realized that it wasn't, money doesn't equal happiness. Money doesn't equal a good life. Like, yes, if you're below the poverty line, of course, money can make a big difference in your life. And yes, money solves problems. But, I work with a lot of wealthy women who have the same issues just as women who aren't extremely wealthy. So it's not the money, and it goes so much deeper than that. And I really want to share that with women. And often when we feel like we don't have enough money, what we do in one area of our life, we do in all areas of our life, and how that often shows up as people feel like they're not good enough or not confident enough, or it's this scarcity mindset that permeates our whole life. It's not just exclusive to money, whereas I know that scarcity mindset often gets associated with money, but it runs deeper than that. And I really feel passionate about helping women like be enough, feel enough, and come from that place of being sufficient, feeling like they are enough, and creating more in their life from that space, rather than creating from a place of I'm not good enough, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I'm not confident enough, and then thinking that the money will equal suddenly they'll have enough time and confidence and feel good about themselves, because money helps, but it's not the answer.
Why do you think a lot of people think money is hard? What can you say about worries and anxiety around money?
Well, we're conditioned. We're like, I mean, it's in our society, right? More is better. Okay. Like, this is a common thing. We see it in advertising. We're bombarded with this imagery all the time of, and I know this is about money, Lee, but I want to broaden the topic, because I really believe that it's more than that. And we are socialized to believe things like money is hard. Like, many of us grow up like that's just what we get told. And it's interesting to look at, do we ever examine that? Is that actually true? Like, is money actually hard? And can you see evidence that, I mean, some people out there, it's not hard at all. They make plenty of money, right? But when we grow up believing that you have to work hard to make money, it's difficult to make money. We're in a pandemic. It's impossible. Like, we put all these and I want to say, look, I'm not judging anyone. I'm not trying to make anybody wrong. But what I do want to offer is, are you willing to look at the way that you think about money and be wrong? Like, are you willing to challenge your ideas about money? Because I certainly grew up thinking that it was hard to make money. And I also thought that if you want to make money, you have to work really hard. And also there was an element of, I didn't understand money. I thought that like money was for some people, like those people over there, and it wasn't for me. Like, I didn't know how to connect with it. It felt out of my reach. And what I want to offer is that is the way we think about money. That's just how some of us have grown up. We've believed those thoughts and we've never challenged it, right? And we just believe it to be true. And so therefore that's what we create, because we're operating under that filter, if you will, that's how we see the world. Like, we see the world through the filter in front of us that money is hard.
Yes.
And the way that our brain works, it's like our brain filters out for that information. So we find evidence of, yes, you're right, it is hard. Money is hard. And but to change that, we need to be willing to be wrong. We need to be willing to be wrong about the way that we think about money.
Okay. You mentioned scarcity mindset. So what is scarcity mindset? And then how do you know if you are in a scarcity mindset?
Okay. I'm so glad you asked me this, because this is really going to help a lot of people. Now, listen, what I'm going to say is, first of all, most people, in fact, I have never met somebody who doesn't have some form of scarcity mindset, right? Like, it's not a disease. There's nothing wrong with you if you have scarcity mindset, right? But I want to point out, first of all, what scarcity mindset is and how to identify it. Now, so what is scarcity? Scarcity means that there's not enough. Okay. It's when we believe that there is not enough and that there's not enough for everyone. And the main areas that I commonly see this show up with my clients is around money, right? They believe there's not enough money.
Mhm.
Okay. The time, there's not enough time, right? We're always busy trying to fit everything in. And then the third is self-concept. And I see it show up in different ways for different people. So for some, it might be, I'm not confident enough, or I'm not thin enough, or, I'm not smart enough. It's the thoughts that we have about ourselves, and in whatever guise that comes in, it's a form of there's not enough of it, right? Whatever it is in your self-concept. And I want to offer that scarcity mindset is a state of mind. It's not a tangible thing in the sense of, of course, there can be not enough of something. Like if you have a piece of cake and everybody's had a piece and there's only one piece left. That's not what I mean. But when we're in scarcity mindset, you can be earning $1 million a year and be in scarcity mindset, right? It's not the amount of something. So it's what you think, whether you think that you don't have enough. And so this is why it's really important to understand what scarcity mindset is and understand how to recognize it, because otherwise what happens is when we're in scarcity, we think more is better and we think we don't have enough. So even though we go after goals, we get there and nothing changes. We still feel in lack and scarcity, right? So it's a state of being, just like abundance is as well. So how you identify it was the second question that you asked, is if you find yourself thinking that you don't have enough, right? Like you tell yourself, like, I don't have enough money. I don't know how many clients I've worked with who have told me that they don't have enough money. And then in almost the same breath, they'll tell me something like, oh yeah, but I've only got $20,000 in savings, or it's all about how we think about it, right? So when you're in that mindset, you can be starting a business and earning your first $10,000 and think you don't have enough. But when you're in that mindset, you'll get to earning $100,000 and you'll still think that that's not enough, right? Like, what is enough? So, and in the other areas, it's when you think that you find yourself comparing yourself to other people. Mm-hmm. Like when we come into the self-concept work, like, they're smarter than me, or I'm not good enough. That is scarcity mindset. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got that. Comparing yourself to other people. So fear of the unknown can also make us think with a scarcity mindset. So how do you get out of it?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's recognizing that you're in scarcity mindset. Like, it's creating the awareness, because often we don't even realize we're in scarcity mindset. We think what we're like, the thoughts that we have, we just believe them to be true. Right. And so that's the very first step, like really just kind of stepping back and creating some space. Like, is this true? Right. Like questioning what you're saying and what you're thinking. But it goes beyond that. And I'll talk to you about that. Would now be a good time to talk about how to move into abundance?
Yes. Because we're saying the opposite of scarcity is abundance. So how do we shift from scarcity to abundance mindset?
Yeah. Okay. So the first step is just creating awareness around your thinking and being open that, maybe these thoughts that I'm having aren't true. Maybe there is another way. Maybe I could think about this differently. Okay. That's step number one, because if you're not we're powerless to change what we're unaware of.
We're powerless to change what we are unaware of. That's a quotable quote there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's if you don't even realize that you're in scarcity mindset, it makes it harder to shift out of it, right? Now, being in abundance mindset is it just like scarcity mindset, it's a state of being. And so this is why you can have one person with $10,000 in their bank account and they feel great. Like they're just like, I've got plenty of money. I've got so much in my life. I have everything I need. And then you can have someone else with $10,000 in their bank account freaking out. Like it's not enough. I've got all these bills and right. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm doing it on purpose because I want the message to go through. It's a state of being. So abundance mindset is when we believe we are enough. Okay. We are more than enough. We have more than enough money. There's enough for everyone. Right? Because that's the difference too. When we're in scarcity, like especially with things like, I don't know if this happened for you in your country, Lay, but for us here in Australia, when the pandemic first started, there was a lot of scarcity mindset around toilet paper.
Oh,
everybody went crazy for toilet paper. Like people buying ridiculous amounts of toilet paper. That's scarcity mindset, right? More is better. If I don't get a piece of the pie, I'm going to miss out. Like there's not enough for everyone. Whereas abundance mindset is, listen, there's plenty of toilet paper. There's enough toilet paper to go around. There's enough for everyone, right? And being able to see that. Now, here is the thing though. You have to believe what you are thinking. So, and this is where so many people get into trouble because they think, all right, I don't want to be in scarcity mindset. So I'm going to use the example of I don't have enough money. So the thought is I don't have enough money. And so an abundant thought would be I have enough money, right? But if you think I have enough money, but you don't actually believe it, it's not going to have an impact on your life because you're saying it, but it's just, you're going through the motions, and we don't create new results in our life when we don't actually believe them. We have to believe it. Okay. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is connect with what you have. Okay. We need to start looking at what we have already. Okay. And so what that might look like, and I'll use the example of money for people because I think this is really helpful, is okay. So you might not be able to shift from I don't have enough money to I have more than enough money, right? Because you're like, yeah, right. That's not true. That's not believable.
Yeah.
But can you think and believe I have more than enough money for today? Right? Like, is that believable for you? Or maybe it's I have more than enough money for this hour, or I have more than enough money for this week, right? It's different for everyone. Like wherever it is that where you feel like it's true for you, like you can genuinely say this thought, believe this thought, and it's true. So when I started this process, I couldn't saying, oh, I have more than enough money. Like I have so much abundance. It fell flat. It didn't feel real. But to be able to say I have more than enough money for today feels totally real. Like it's like, of course, I absolutely have more than enough money for today. I can cover all my expenses. I've got plenty of money left over in the bank. Like not a problem. Like I can see the evidence from it. I can believe it. I can say it truthfully. Now, that is being insufficiency. Okay? So the I don't have enough, first of all, so many of us say I don't have enough when it's not even true. Right? Especially if you're in a first world country and you have a roof over your head and you have food in your cupboard, you have enough. Okay. Right. But we tell ourselves it's not enough. So can you shift to where you feel sufficient? Can you be sufficient in this moment? Because being sufficient is actually abundance. But personally, for me, I find it easier to connect to being sufficient than I do to being abundant. It's like the stepping stone from not enough, I have enough for this moment, I've got more than enough forever, right? So it's being in that space of I have more than enough money for today or for this moment. And then practicing that thought and looking at that, like make that your focus, not I don't have enough. Because if I get a bit scientific on you here, our brain likes to be efficient, and it's going to just keep repeating thoughts that, like, if you've always just thought I don't have enough, that's going to be like a super highway in your brain, like a pathway that you've worn in your neural pathways that then becomes like the truth, what you see. And so to shift out of that, we have to start giving attention to new thoughts, like new pathways we want to build in our brain. But to do that, we need to believe it. So let's spend, it's like, okay, like you're going to have times when you feel like you don't have enough. That's all right. We don't have to push it away. We don't have to fight that. But let's give equal airtime to I have enough money for today, right? Or whatever that thought is that you believe. That's just one thing. I made a whole toolkit to share with your audience that has got 10 different exercises that they can do to shift into abundance. But I mean, another one that I think a lot of people can relate to is having an attitude for gratitude.
Yeah.
Actually taking time every day to focus on and appreciate what you have. Right? Like I could sit here and tell you all the things that I don't have, but look around. Like, look at this beautiful space I'm in. Look at that beautiful plant back there. That's abundance, right? Like and you can focus on what you don't have, or you can focus on what you do have. And it's a lot easier to create more when you're focused on what you have.
Right.
Right? It's like being grateful for the things that you have in your life, like showing appreciation, like, oh, I'm so grateful that I have this friend that I can chat with. I'm so grateful that I have a regular income, that, like, whatever it is for you. But then also, listen, you stop me if you want, because I can keep going for a long time. I have so many things I could tell you.
It's okay. Go ahead. I love it.
Yeah. But another amazing exercise is to state what you have that you already want. Right? That you already have. That is an incredible exercise to get you in the energy of abundance and sufficiency. So it's like, I want 2 healthy daughters and I have 2 healthy daughters. I want money in an emergency account for myself and I have money in an emergency account for myself. I want a beautiful dog that will sleep in her basket next to me while I work, and I have a beautiful dog that sleeps in her basket next to me while I work, right? It's like connecting to all those things that we want, that we desire, that we already have. That is the energy of abundance.
So state what you want to what you already have, and focusing on what you are grateful for. So you naturally pull yourself out of scarcity mindset.
Yes. And just to go back to what I said at the beginning, look, we all have forms of scarcity mindset. It's not a problem. Okay. It's just whether you make it a problem. And once you're aware of it, it's like, oh yeah, I'm noticing that I'm focusing on what I don't have. All right. I know that's not helpful to create more in my life. So what what do I want that I already have? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can strip that back as far as you want. Like I want clean drinking water and I have clean drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want warm shoes to wear in the winter and I have warm shoes to wear in the winter. Like really connect with everything that you have in your life, right? Because, otherwise it's like we start making, here's another thing, right? That's related. It's like we want more abundance or we want more money in our life. And, you hear people say things like, yeah, but I've
But
only
yeah.
got, I've only made $20,000 in my business, right? Like they're just starting or something like that. That's scarcity mindset. How about saying, wow, I've created $20,000 in my business. Like I want this money and I have this money. Like I created this money. Like, can you see the difference? It's a
Yes, yes.
mindset.
Mm-hmm. You also talk about living in intentional abundance. What can you tell us about that?
Well, everything that I've just said, it's like being really intentional about connecting to what it is that you want in your life, what you already have. And like, don't get me wrong. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love the money. I love the things. There's nothing wrong with wanting to create more money and creating more money. And there's nothing wrong with desiring to create it. But the distinction, the piece that I really want the listener today to come away with is that where is that intention coming from? Like, do you want more money because you feel like you don't have enough? Right? Or do you want more money because it's like, yeah, I've got money, but I also want to create more just
Mm-hmm.
because,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to have a reason, but it's just catching yourself out because are you wanting to create the next client or you're wanting to make more money because you're in scarcity and lack because you think you don't have enough clients? Now, if you've got a goal to have 15 clients and you've got 10 so far, it's like the glass half empty or glass half full. And being intentional is about putting your attention on what you want, but also being intentional and taking 100% responsibility for what you've already created and coming at it from that perspective that I want 15 clients and I've already created 10. Right? I'm totally on the way. That's abundance, right? Whereas I want 15 clients, but I've only got 10. I'm terrible at this. What's wrong with me? I must be doing something wrong. How come I don't have 5 more? That's scarcity, right? So it's really being onto yourself, okay? Like creating that awareness about the way that you're thinking about what you're doing and what you want to create, but also being onto yourself about what you already have and taking ownership of that and really owning it. It's like, yeah, I created this. Like I
Mm-hmm.
created these 10 clients. This is something that I wanted and I did it. That's the energy of abundance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And abundance is all around us and it's all how you want to look at it. And I mean, I could say what means abundance for me and I'm happy to share that, but it's different for everybody. And I think that's really important too, to be clear on what that means. So for me, abundance looks like having the freedom to be able to go bushwalking on the weekend with my family. Like that to me is life. Like that is something that I feel incredibly passionate about. Like I love nature and I love being out in nature, and that's abundance for me, being able to do those sort of things. And yes, money is a part of that. Like, yeah, like I need to create money to pay for petrol to put in my car, to drive to the bush, things like that. And yes, I want to have lots of money in my life because I like having lots of money. I like spending money. I like to give money, like use money for different things. But it's just making that decision for yourself. Like you deciding for you. Like for one person, it might mean that they are able to buy a fancy luxury handbag, right? Like maybe that's what that means for them. And that's great. That's like nothing wrong with that. But for someone else, it might mean that they can give a certain amount of money to their favorite charity every year. Like that's what it means for them. Or it's really creating the intention for the individual person, for yourself. What's important to you? Because what abundance looks like for you, Lay, might be totally different to what it looks like for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I really appreciate what you shared with us today. If you were to leave our viewers and listeners with one single action today or a final piece of advice on how we can rewrite our money story based on if we're coming from a scarcity mindset, okay, what would it be? I really appreciate what you shared with us today. If you were to leave our viewers and listeners with one single action today or a final piece of advice on how we can rewrite our money story coming from the scarcity mindset, what would it be?
The number one thing is take 100% responsibility for the results that you have in your life, right? Because everything that we've talked about today, it's so easy to blame other people and to blame external forces and to say things like, yeah, that's just the way the world is. Okay. And I'm not saying that some people don't have it harder or that some people don't have additional barriers in their way because of the way that our world is built, like sexism, racism, like so many, there's other factors at play here, right? But I do want to say that nobody can create the results in your life that you want. So if you want to create more abundance in your life, you need to own that, right? You need to do the work yourself because nobody can do that for you. And that might sound really like harsh, but that's like the number one thing. Like you've got to own it. You've got to take responsibility. And because listen, this is abundance for you. I can't just say one thing. I've got to give you something else. But the second piece is love yourself all the way to the results that you want, because that is being in abundance. Because so often we want to create things in our life. We want to create more money or we want to go after goals. And we think somehow by beating ourselves up, we're going to get there. And it's just not the case. We need to be on our own side. We need to be our own best friend and always choose love.
Yeah.
Take 100% responsibility and always choose love.
I totally agree. Megan, thank you so much for hopping on today and sharing all your wisdom and reminding us to pay attention to our thoughts and what stories are we creating for ourselves because of our mindset. Thank you.
So welcome. It is my honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I understand that you have a free gift that you're going to share to everybody who's with us today. Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. Okay. So when we were talking before, when we were talking about me coming on and talking to your audience, and we were talking that I was going to share about scarcity mindset, I was like, okay, what can I create that is really going to help people shift out of scarcity mindset? So I've created a toolkit. I have put in all the exercises that I know I've mentioned a couple today briefly, but I've put in 10 exercises in this toolkit that are things that you can do in your life on a daily basis to shift out of scarcity mindset and to shift in abundance. And, I just really want to say that it's a personal journey for everyone. So I put 10 different exercises in so that there's plenty in there that people have the opportunity to take what works for them, leave what doesn't, and use it for them, not against them, right? Like use it to help them. Like, yeah, I want to create more abundance in my life. How do I do it? Use this toolkit. Take the exercises, use them, you tweak it, change it to what works for you, use what works, throw out the rest, and shift out of scarcity. It's not necessary. You don't need to be in that frame of mind. You are good enough. You have enough. You are 100% worthy, and that is abundance.
Wow, that's so good. We really appreciate that. So you guys, you can go ahead and pick that up by clicking on the link below and make sure you get Megan's gift and come back for the rest of the interviews of Mind Over Money. Thanks for joining.
So there you have it. And if you want to get your hands on the Abundant Mindset Toolkit that we talked about, you can actually get it by going to the Money Mindful website /abundant mindset, and I'll put a link in the show notes so you can access that. You can still get access to it. I'd love you to have it. So go check it out. All right. Until you hear from me again, have an amazing week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Money Mindful podcast. For more info, visit moneymindful.com.au. For future episodes, be sure to subscribe. And remember, the information in this podcast is of a general nature only and does not take into account your personal circumstances or goals. Please seek professional advice for your own financial needs. Remember to have fun along the way.